Did Toni Braxton really cross the line with her graduation outfit? Or is Corey Holcomb just stirring the pot again? Today we're diving deep into a story that's got the internet talking, celebrities weighing in, and fans seriously divided. Welcome back to the channel. If you love celeb drama with a dash of cultural critique, hit that like button and let's unpack this whole situation. Toni Braxton recently found herself at the center of online controversy after showing up to her son Diezel's college graduation in a sheer black outfit that left the internet doing a collective double-take. Known for her bold fashion choices, Toni didn't stray far from her usual aesthetic, body-hugging, dramatic, and unapologetically glamorous. But the setting of a graduation ceremony, traditionally a moment meant to celebrate academic achievement and family pride, made some people question her choice. Was this just Toni being Toni, or did she steal the spotlight from her son's big day? Enter comedian Corey Holcomb, never one to hold back. On his podcast, he blasted Toni for what he described as attention-seeking behavior. According to Holcomb, Toni wasn't just dressing for herself. She was intentionally inserting herself into her son's moment. He argued that the focus should have been entirely on Diezel and that Toni's outfit turned the ceremony into a sideshow. He went as far as to accuse her of trying to compete with her own son for attention, calling it embarrassing and inappropriate for the occasion. Corey's comments, predictably, sparked a wildfire online. On one side were people who agreed, saying that Toni should have dressed more modestly and respectfully for a formal family event. They argued that there's a time and place for fashion statements, and a child's graduation isn't the Met Gala. On the other hand, there were those who came to Toni's defense, saying she has every right to dress how she wants, especially after raising a son who's clearly successful and grounded. Some fans pointed out that the criticism felt more like an attack on her age, her motherhood, and her refusal to fade into the background now that she's in her 50s. The debate quickly turned generational and gendered. Older audiences seemed to be more critical, citing traditional values and parental expectations. Younger viewers, however, were largely on Toni's side, seeing the backlash as rooted in outdated standards of how women, especially mothers, should present themselves. Many pointed out the double standard. When fathers show up in flashy suits or crack jokes during speeches, they're seen as charming. When mothers do something bold, it's often called inappropriate. What complicates this even more is Toni and Diezel's silence. Neither of them has responded publicly to Corey's rant or the viral attention the outfit received. And maybe that silence says more than any statement could. Diezel didn't seem upset in any photos or videos from the event. In fact, he looked proud, comfortable, and completely unbothered. If the person supposedly embarrassed isn't showing any signs of distress, is the outrage even warranted? It's also worth mentioning that Corey Holcomb is known for his harsh, sometimes controversial takes. This isn't the first time he's gone after a public figure with brutal honesty. He's called out everyone from Gabrielle Union to Jada Pinkett Smith to Oprah. His fans admire his no-holds-barred attitude, but critics say he often crosses the line into personal attacks disguised as comedy or real talk. In that context, his comments about Toni might be more about generating clicks than genuine concern for her son's emotional well-being. Still, the story taps into some deep cultural questions. Do we expect too much modesty from mothers? Is a woman supposed to disappear behind her child's success? Or are we just uncomfortable with the idea that a 56-year-old mom can be sexy, confident, and proud all at once? Toni's outfit may have been revealing, but maybe it's our judgments that say more about us than it does about her. At the end of the day, this isn't just about a dress. It's about image, expectations, and the fine line between self-expression and self-centeredness. Whether Toni Braxton was making a statement or simply showing up as her authentic self, one thing's for sure, the conversation it sparked reveals a lot about how we view celebrity moms, aging women, and what it really means to support your child while still being yourself. Maybe the real question isn't whether Toni embarrassed her son. Maybe it's whether we're embarrassed by a woman who refuses to fade quietly into the background. Corey Holcomb's outrage over Toni Braxton's graduation outfit might seem like just another episode in the ongoing saga of celebrity gossip. But it touches on something deeper: the intersection of personal identity and parental roles. There's this unspoken expectation that once a woman becomes a mother, especially to a grown child, she should adopt a more subdued, self-effacing version of herself. But that's never been Toni Braxton. From her sultry ballads in the 90s to her striking red carpet moments in the 2000s, she has always embraced her femininity and sensuality. So why should motherhood, or age, suddenly force her to tone that down? The idea that a woman must minimize herself at her child's milestone suggests a cultural discomfort with women who continue to own their identity outside of their parental status. And that's where Corey's criticism, though blunt, reveals more about our societal biases than Toni's actual choices. Another layer to this debate is how we interpret visibility. Toni Braxton showing up in a sheer outfit to her son's graduation is being read by some, like Holcomb, as attention-seeking, but for others, it's simply her being consistent with who she's always been. If she had shown up in a plain pantsuit or something ultra-conservative, that probably would have sparked commentary too. Is she okay? Why is she dressing so old? This double-bind women face, especially public figures, is exhausting. No matter what they wear, they're criticized for being too much or not enough. And when you add fame and motherhood into the mix, the expectations get even more unrealistic. Toni isn't some random celebrity trying to crash a graduation spotlight. She's a proud mom who chose to celebrate a huge milestone in her own skin, in her own way. It's also important to look at the dynamics between Toni and her son, Diezel. From what the public can see, they seem to have a very close, respectful relationship. He's grown up in the spotlight, accustomed to his mother being a public figure, and has even pursued his own career in modeling and entertainment. If there were any real tension or embarrassment over that outfit, he's had every chance to express it, publicly or privately. Instead, he posed happily for photos beaming in his graduation cap and gown. It's telling that the loudest voices claiming he was humiliated are strangers on the internet and not the young man himself. The projection happening here, adults assuming how a young adult feels based on their own discomfort, says more about societal norms than about Diezel Braxton's actual experience. And finally, Corey Holcomb's critique deserves scrutiny of its own. His brand is rooted in bluntness, often wrapped in humor, but laced with a sharp edge that sometimes cuts too deep. His comments about Toni weren't just commentary. They bordered on moral policing, implying that a mother in her 50s should know better, dress better, and ultimately be quieter. This isn't new for Corey, who's built a career on calling out what he sees as hypocrisy or foolishness in Hollywood. But his tone often leaves little room for nuance, especially when it comes to women. The irony is that by dragging Toni's name through the mud, Corey arguably stole more attention away from Diezel's achievement than the dress ever could. In the end, while Toni Braxton celebrated her son in a way that felt authentic to her, Corey turned it into a spectacle, not to protect a young man's dignity, but to fuel his own brand of brash commentary.